Hello, and welcome to this screencast. We're going to use a screencast to illustrate a very strong method of implementing online learning for your school, which is one aspect of an academic channel that would benefit all of your students and your teachers. So again, this is just one model. The model is called the flipped classroom. It's been in practice for 6 or 7 years. It utilizes technology that most schools already have in place, and it has a tremendous amount of benefit for just about every stakeholder at your school. Now, there's little doubt in anyone's mind that the internet has revolutionized education, and with each added technology, each piece of hardware or software, we see that the potential for online learning continues to expand. Now, we have to incorporate best practices, and these things need to be vetted out over time. But this particular model, the flipped classroom, which I said has been in practice for the last 6 or 7 years, it's been mastered by some teachers who are truly revolutionizing what they do. And it's less of a method, and it's becoming more of a movement. So this is, again, it's just one example of how to reach your students using an academic channel. We will walk through the flipped classrooms. Two guys, Jonathan Bergman and Aaron Sams, out in Colorado. They teach chemistry to high school students. These guys were largely pioneers, but they have pushed the model to a mastery level. So they really represent it at the pinnacle. I just read their book, which was published this year, called Flipping Your Classroom. It's an IST publication from 2012. If you get a chance, order that. It will help you out. So what is a flipped classroom? Well, basically, a flipped classroom is one where a teacher flips homework for classwork. By delivering content over the web, a teacher can gain class time. That is, the face time they have with students can be used for in more effective ways. They can use certain activities that they might not have as much time for. It allows them to reach kids at different learning levels, spend more time addressing differentiated learning for all students. And there's not a teacher in America who doesn't wish they had more time that they could use in better ways with their students. And that's what a flipped classroom can offer your teachers and your students. Some real quick terms that you'll be hearing. Content. When I refer to content, I usually mention digital content. This is anything from streaming videos to a screencast, which is what you're watching, which is basically a PowerPoint with an audio file laid over it, or even podcasts. Enhanced instruction is a term that I've coined that encapsulates this new level of instruction that teachers are available to use as a result of a well-implemented flipped model. And lastly, a very generally held definition of online learning, which is instruction which is delivered over the internet. Practicing the flip. Here are the three methods that are most commonly used. Screencasting, which is what I'm using on a Mac, so I'm using QuickTime. For your Windows users, there's some free open source software called Cam Studio, very user friendly. Streaming video, which a lot of teachers do, which is very effective. The problem with streaming video is that you need a place to store or archive these videos, and that's what the academic channel will offer you, a place to archive webisodes so that students can watch them at another time. It also frees teachers up once they start to practice this model for a couple of years. Their episodes will already be archived, so they won't have to spend time making videos every year. So as they move through the process, not only do they gain time in class every day, they have web content posted. Over the years, they'll start to gain more time during planning that they can dedicate to more efficient use. And then, of course, this last option, vodcasts and podcasts, which are a little more time intensive, but they're a lot more versatile, a lot more bells and whistles. So enhanced instruction. Generally, when you come to class, you have a warm-up activity first, and then you go over homework for 20 minutes or so, and then you get to new content, which pretty much takes up the rest of your class time. In a flipped classroom, this is still a FaceTime. It's still traditional in the sense that you're with your children, you're in the classroom, so you have a warm-up activity. But instead of going over homework, you do questions and answers and discussion about the webisode. Then you can move on to this enhanced instruction time. This is time that you can use for higher level activities, inquiry-based learning, experiments, and differentiated instruction. Again, time that are activities that a lot of teachers will tell you they just don't have enough time for. The flipped classroom gives them that. So here's some specific ideas for each subject matter, and these are ideas that I've gotten from teachers who teach these subjects. Math, you can go into deep analysis. You can actually do some problem solving, more of it. It's not that they can't do that in class. They can. They just get teachers and students have more time. You can also separate your kids into cohorts and help each group. In science, you can jump right into inquiry-based activities and experiments. You don't have to spend as much time prepping students. Language arts and social studies, really the thing we gain is time to write, rewrite, peer edit, those types of things. Foreign language tends to benefit more than any other subject because of the time that they spend on basic grammar, vocabulary skills. They can deliver that content via the web and get right into conversation. And I've even had some foreign language teachers tell me that they're teaching literature. They're actually reading passages or even books in their foreign language that they teach, which helps children tremendously. And I threw in PE just to demonstrate the versatility of this model. Even PE can benefit because they can jump right into the day's activities. They have a brief 5 to 10 minute question and answer on the directions or the rules or the techniques, which they've already delivered. The children have already watched them. They've already been indoctrinated, so to speak, so they get moving faster. So what are the benefits of the flipped classroom? Well, our kids live in a digital age. It's time to embrace the digital culture. It's time to give them something worth watching. They're already doing it on their smartphones and on their laptops and their iPads and their tablets and whatever they have. So it's time to embrace the digital age. It's time to cast off this idea that screen time is bad by replacing the content that they are watching with stuff that will help them. Okay, this model helps all students, whether they're gifted kids or they're kids that need a little extra help. Kids who want to work ahead can, because the episodes are archived. They can get ahead. Students who need some extra help can watch the archived episodes as many times as they need. They can also pause and rewind their teacher to control the pace at which they learn. The increased interaction bullet refers to that enhanced time you have in class, teacher to student or teacher to students, whether they're working individually with a student who needs some extra help or with a group, a cohort that may need specific instruction on a certain aspect. You also gain more time for student-to-student activities. This model changes the way we all communicate about school. The old question, what'd you do at school today, will become more and more obsolete. People are going to ask that question less and less because parents are already going to know what happened at school that day. They're going to know what their child learned. It opens up the opportunity to discuss what they learned in class at the supper table on the way home. It moves everybody forward by a degree or two. Okay, it also changes your parent-teacher conferences. You spend less time talking about behavior because you, believe it or not, you won't have as many behavioral problems. Now, this model is not a panacea for behavior. You're still going to have distracted kids. You're still going to have some classroom management that you need to handle in class. However, you will have less of it. It alleviates a lot of it because kids are more engaged, not only by the digital aspect of learning, they are also engaged because you now can practice higher level learning in your classroom that engages them in what they're doing. Transparency. This is a really simple point. More people know what's going on in your classroom. Now, a lot of administrators and teachers panic when they hear that because they think, wow, I don't want everybody watching everything I do. This is not a live streaming video concept. Teachers control what they post, right? If they're recording content and they make a mistake, they scrap it and start over if they have time. If they're posting a screen, or they're producing a screencast, and there's a fire drill, they just come back and finish it later. Okay, so it's not something where there's a lot of liability because you're in control. Your teachers are in control of what they post. The last point is key. It lessens the impact of absenteeism for everyone. Students who miss for whatever reason, whether they're sick or at a competition, they will not be as far behind. Now, nothing replaces FaceTime and never will. You must have FaceTime. I've taken online classes where I never met a teacher and I didn't enjoy them. I didn't learn as much. But what this model does is it lessens the impact of being gone because kids can stay at least abreast of what happened in class that day. They get the basics. So they're not as far behind as they would be. And there's also the aspect of your teachers. When your teachers are gone, if they have a planned absence to go to a conference or whatever, they can post information on the web that the students can watch in their absence, so that they still get information from their teacher. I love my substitutes. They definitely provide a key support for us when we need them. But they don't know my kids as well as I do, and they don't know my content as well as I do. So by posting information when I know I'm going to be gone, the kids get more than they would from a more traditional model. What are some issues and concerns? Well, access to the internet. At this point, most schools in America have access that would enable faculty to practice this method. Access at home is not where we hope it will be, but it's dramatically improving. But kids can use the technology at school. And again, this is not something that you would not practice the flipped classroom in every single class every single day. And you certainly wouldn't start out that way. So hopefully as schools move further and further along this spectrum of practice with regard to online learning, access will be less and less of an issue. Technical difficulties. Most schools already have the resources in place to implement a flipped classroom model. Teachers have computers. Your IT person can make sure you have everything you need. You might need a microphone. And for your brave teachers that want to go ahead and start posting video, you may need a video camera, but you probably already have webcams. You probably already have everything you need to begin producing webisodes for your students. So what is really, in my opinion, the biggest stumbling block is teacher preparedness and willingness. Some teachers are really set in their ways, right? But I think if they give it a shot, if they practice this model with a little help, a little bit of hand holding, some introduction, a little guided practice, whether you have to bring someone in to train them or you send a teacher out to be trained and come back and train a few of your faculty members, once they do this and once they start to become effective, it took me about 3 months to really start doing quality episodes. And now that I've been doing them for the last 5 years, my kids love them. They absolutely love them, and the time that we gain in class is invaluable. I can't tell you how important it is. So that's really your biggest obstacle, is getting everybody on board and troubleshooting and making sure people understand that it's a transition. It's a big change to methods, but the benefits are well worth it. So thank you for your time. I appreciate you listening to the Screencast. If you have any questions, of course, you can write them down and discuss them. And if you don't have, if there's something you missed, right, and you want to go back and pick it up, well, guess what? You can rewind this episode and watch it again. All right? So thanks again.